We'll do that. Better check that. It keeps freaking out for a while. So do you guys, did I ask this the other day? Maybe I didn't get much feedback, but do you guys in the back, do you think you could, or even Brandon, do you think you could see this better if it were up here?
Yes.
Because I know like Casey and some of the people that sit back here, I feel like this is right in the way.
The other thing is closing like the first line a little bit, maybe might.
The second one, closing this one.
That first one that's open there, yeah, that one, it might help to be able to see the screen better. I don't know if you can do just one, but. Yeah. That helps.
It is bright today. Everything's bouncing off of that snow, and I might have the physical plant put it up there for next week and just see if that helps, or
maybe it doesn't make a difference, but I think it would help because then we're not trying to see over each other's heads. We
Yeah.
don't be able to look up.
right. Because usually it's mounted and it's up, it's higher off the ground. Hi guys. Steven, you're up front. Oh, you look different up here. Just kidding. Well, other than issues with Zoom, it's been okay. It's just we have so much snow at our house. It's insane. At any given place where I would walk, it's up to here. So thankfully my husband was out yesterday with the tractor and got things kind of situated. But just like doing chores takes a lot out of you when you're like trekking through that much snow. Okay, I should have more participants in this. I'm ready for spring though. That's for sure. I like nice weather. I like warm weather. Monday the 22nd must be. Couple more minutes here, guys, and I'll waiting for one other person to hopefully hop on Zoom. Chantilly is excited. Hi, Robbie.
Hi, how are you?
Got your lunch?
Yeah.
Nice. Huh? I do. I'm waiting for one more. We'll see.
I
It's
was
just,
early today.
huh?
I was early today.
You are, yeah. It's good. We have a few people missing though. Today will probably not take the whole time. Once we start these next, any of the chapters about the fitness components specifically, they're pretty short, kind of short and sweet. They just go over some of the, different exercises or assessments you might do and the prescription and why it's good, etc. So they're not terribly long chapters. There we go. Okay. Got people in here. And let's bring this up. So again, I just want to say how awesome you all did on the first exam. I was really impressed, really happy. I think it's just overall, it's a really strong class. You guys are a good, strong bunch and appear to be very studious and concerned about your grades. So that's great. Let's keep it going. Make sure you still come to class if you can. I tell you, as soon as you get disengaged, it will impact your grade for sure. Looking into next week, as my note says over there, we are going to meet on Tuesday over in the Ox Gym. Okay, does everybody know where the Ox Gym is? Be honest if you don't. I don't want you to be wandering around campus trying to figure out. If you know where Activity Center West is, okay, So the front of the building that you drive by on, is that 7th Street, 8th, 5th Street? 7th Street. Somewhere. It's one of those. It's this one right down here and to the right, right? Where you see the baseball field. That building right there, this side is the activity center. Well, the other side of it, the west side, is the activity center west side. And the aux gym is on that side, all right? It's right next to the recreation desk or student intramurals, if you are involved in intramurals at all. It's right there. It's also right next to our division, so the movement and sports sciences division kind of suite. It's right next to that, all right? So if you don't know how to get there, please email me or talk to me after class, and we'll make sure that you know how to get there. You do need to be dressed down, okay? Meaning wear clothes that you can be physically active in. We're going to be doing some sit-ups, well, curl-ups, push-ups, and those body weight squats. And then I'm going to piggyback that with our flexibility lab, which will be doing some proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation stretching, so PNF stretching after that. So you might want to wear things that you're comfortable being limber in, okay? So we're going to do that on Tuesday. And then Thursday, we'll be back in here and we'll move on to the neuromuscular fitness component, okay? Okay, questions about anything? What do you have due on Sunday? Is it 2 quizzes this week? 2 quizzes this week. Okay. Sometimes there's 1, sometimes there's 2, just depending on. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. So when I got cut off on Tuesday, we were talking about repetition velocity and how it's important to replicate repetition velocity in the training room compared to try to replicate that as to what you're doing on the field or in the court, whatever it is. But for somebody who is just lifting to maintain, this is an adult who is just, they're not doing it for sports performance, right? The goal here is to lift at a moderate speed. So the speed for the lifting phase, which would be the concentric phase, is going to be about 2 seconds. And the lowering phase, which is considered the eccentric phase, is going to be 3 seconds, right? So a total about a 5-second lift there. Rest periods, this is really important. It's actually critical that when somebody is working out, they're doing their strength training, that they're very cognizant of how they're lifting and what energy pathways they are tasking, because the energy pathways are then going to be replenished or not, perhaps, based on the amount of rest that they are allowed. Okay, so for instance, if you are tasking the phosphocreatine energy system, where that's pretty much the creatine that's stored in your muscles, very quick anaerobic, quick short burst type of activity. If you do that for a certain amount of time, you need to give that kind of 2 to 3 minute period to allow that phosphocreatine to replenish, okay? On the other hand, if we are looking at lifting lighter weights, longer duration, now we're lifting more so for endurance and perhaps tapping into different forms of glycolysis, then we don't need as much time because that ATP is going to continue to make itself, right? We're still going to have ATP being manufactured. So again, for anything that's heavier, we need to have longer rest periods, 3 minutes. Things that are lighter weights, lifting more so for endurance, we're looking at that 30 to 60 second kind of in there, okay? The cool down, you guys already know what this is for, right? This was one of those questions we asked in class, and then you saw it for sure on the exam. And again, this is just to make sure that we kind of bring that intensity down to moderately, not quickly. Make sure that we bring that heart rate back into normal rhythms, not having any negative impact on the heart rate. as well as to make sure that we don't have a drop in the blood pressure by blood pooling up in the legs, right? This could be static, this could be dynamic. A lot of people, you know, if you lift an upper body, and you're probably gonna follow that with some static stretching for the upper body, and that's perfectly fine. And we'll talk a little bit about the proper way for stretching, technique and form, etc., like that on Tuesday. This is just kind of types of resistance training. It's a comparison, and some of you guys way in the back might not be able to see it, but just talks about the cost, the portability, the ease of use, muscle isolation versus, you know, are you talking about a single joint exercise or is this a multi-joint exercise? The functionality, exercise variety, space, requirement. It's just a comparison. And I would say just to review that for your own purpose. This isn't nothing that you need to have memorized for a test by any means. But somebody might ask you a question at some point about, hey, why is lifting just with body weight great? What's good about it? Well, what's not so good about it? Okay. And then again, I told you, as soon as people start to know that you're kind of in this field, you're going to school, you're taking classes that's related to this field, they will start to ask you questions and they'll expect that you have the knowledge. This you probably really can't see, but this is about resistance training safety, just some tips, okay? Maintain a regular breathing pattern. Important to know how to continue to breathe while lifting, even through the concentric phase. A lot of people can't separate that breathing. The breathing might stop because they're contracting their abdominals, and if their abdominals can't function outside of their diaphragm, then it's not a whole package. So we need to learn how to breathe through that lifting, through the lifting. Make sure the exercise environment is well lit, clean, free of clutter. I hate going into a fitness center and there's stuff on the ground, or you watch somebody get done with something and they just leave it there. That's just weight room etiquette, right? Weight room etiquette is to pick up after yourself, wipe it down, make sure it gets put back where it belongs. Learn proper exercise technique, perform warm-up and cool-down activities. Move carefully around the strength training area. Do not use broken or malfunctioning equipment. Use collars, okay, on all plate loaded, sometimes not. You don't always need to do that, but if you're lifting a lot of weight, use the collars. Be aware of proper spotting procedures. We kind of talked about this. That kind of gets overlooked a lot about how to properly spot what exercises need spotters, which ones should not have a spotter at all. Avoid jerky and uncontrolled movements. Periodically check all training equipment and regularly clean the equipment. I may have mentioned that I've seen MRSA get spread through fitness centers before because of a lack of cleaning. So just be aware. I always recommend to students, usually if we're using the mats, pads, disinfect it before you use it, disinfect it after you use it as well. Okay. Questions about resistance training? I usually have a lot of questions on this unit, and most of them tend to be, you know, very specific to each individual. And we're going to talk about a really fun one about flexibility. And the thing I'd like to challenge students with this, right at the beginning of this unit, is to check yourself right now, okay? I want you to check how you're sitting right now. Are you slouched? Are you leaning? Or are you sitting upright with proper posture? Okay, so I want you to put yourself into proper posture. How do you know you should be sitting? Okay, very good. Now here's the challenge. I want you to try to maintain that through the rest of this discussion. I know, right? Okay, I'm gonna pick on somebody right now, Abigail. You remember which muscles we have that are made for kind of aerobic type activity, so endurance in the posterior? Like the core, like part of the core, on the posterior side. Okay, the erector spinae. Okay, erector spinae muscle group right here. There's three main ones, and those are made for endurance. They're made to do this right here, all right? Why do you think 80% of people say that they have low back pain? Because of bad posture. That's where it starts, okay? So I want you to try to maintain this. I do this when I sit at my desk, I have a stand-up desk, but I often sit, especially now, and I'm always checking myself. Oh gosh, I did it again. Oh, I'm slouching. The shoulders rolled forward, okay? I'm not engaged. My abdominals are not engaged, and it feels tiring. But your muscles are actually, the majority of those core muscles are made for endurance. So they are made to keep you upright and hold you upright the way that we're supposed to sit. Flexibility, okay, it's the ability to move a joint through its full range of motion. Ability to move a joint through its full range of motion. That means if you were talking about a ball and socket joint, right, we can do a full circle. We're talking about a hinge joint. We can go through flexion and extension, okay, full range of motion. We start to lose our range of motion the more that we are inactive. So the more sedentary a person is, the less often they ask the joint to move through its full range of motion, and the more that joint starts to break down and doesn't want to move through that ROM anymore. Influenced by several factors such as age. Why do you think age affects flexibility?
Not as actively.
Okay, like I just talked, you're not as active, right? You're probably becoming more sedentary. What else? What do you think of? What?
Our strength leaves as we get older, after we're 30 or so.
Casey, can you say that again?
Didn't you say our strength leaves kind of like slowly degrades after we
Okay.
get older?
So we have atrophy, sarcopenia, and part of the muscle physiology is that we have less elastin. So your muscles actually, as you age, become less elastic, okay? Tapping directly into not being as flexible. Sex, okay? Females tend to be more flexible, but actually males tend to be more flexible in the trunk, okay? Females tend to be more flexible. We're talking about hips, shoulders, and the scapulothoracic. Males tend to get kind of tight in the scapulothoracic areas. Joint structure, that can change as you age as well. So again, the less active you are, the more those surrounding tissues, protective cartilage, etc., they're going to start to break down, and your range of motion is going to be limited because of how the structure of the joint has actually changed. You also usually have less synovial fluid surrounding those joints as you age, so it can become very uncomfortable. The joint can become inflamed. You could be diagnosed with osteoarthritis or arthritis. So joint structure is important. But tapping in back to sex, because of joint structure, it's often why females are more flexible, okay? Wider hips, for example. And then that physical activity level, which we've mentioned kind of throughout all three of these. Let's see. I've talked about all this. This says flexibility typically decreases with age, resulting in significant changes in the neck, shoulder, and trunk region. This is what happens, okay? This right here, this hunched shoulders curl, all right? We have this neck thrusting where your head shifts forward, and it becomes uncomfortable. And a lot of that now has to do with cell phones, computers, etc. You're always looking at them, so your neck is always thrusted forward, and your shoulders, unless you're thinking about it, are always rolled forward. So long periods of doing that causes a chronic change. So what are some of the benefits of flexibility? Active people have great flexibility in the joints, right? They do. So overall, again, those activities of daily living are going to be easier. You can walk up the stairs easier because they have the range of motion that they need. Might enhance certain skills that require greater flexibility. So let's say you are an athlete or you're working with an athletic team. If you were to take time to work with that athletic team on their flexibility, Flexibility can actually be related to enhancements in running stride, running frequency, etc., which might then cause a change in overall time that an athlete can complete a task. Yes.
Is that the reason why some of like football players, baseball players that take dance class do better?
Dance, yoga, a lot of kind of like that cross training because they're wanting to get, maybe because they want to be more flexible. And a lot of that flexibility isn't built into their program. May experience relaxation or stress relief. That's very true, okay? That's one reason a lot of people like to take yoga is because it's a form of stress relief for them. Okay, how's your posture looking? Still intact? Yeah. I love this question. Does stretching prevent or reduce muscle soreness? Everybody's shaking their heads yes. What does this say? Let's read it. Who can read it? Brandon, can you read it from there?
Yeah, researchers have not proven that stretching before or after an exercise session adds benefits or protections against muscle soreness. Stretching has not been found to attenuate the structural mechanisms that contribute to soreness, including micro tears to the muscle fibers, accumulation of calcium ions, cellular inflammation, and swelling.
Very good. Okay. So that just refuted what a lot of people believe, right? It's not that doing that stretching before or after isn't important, because it is important. Again, there's a correlation there with performance. But is it directly correlated with a decrease in muscle soreness? They haven't proven that, okay? Researchers have not proven that. They say soreness, including micro tears. How do you get micro tears? Working out, right? If you want to cause that hypertrophy, if you want to cause muscle growth, whatever it is, you're going to have micro tears. That's how the muscle grows. We cause that protein synthesis. We have that that increase in the cross-sectional area of the muscle fiber. Accumulation of calcium ions. Okay, calcium has to be present in order for the muscle to fire. It's part of the signaling process that occurs from the nerve and from the neuron. And so calcium ions, if we have too much of that or there's a leak of calcium ions, that can actually impact and have an effect on soreness. Cellular inflammation, so again, is there inflammation because of overdoing it perhaps? And just general swelling, okay? So this kind of refutes what a lot of people believe about stretching. Again, not to refute that stretching isn't good, because it is. It's just, it's not directly correlated with decreasing or preventing muscle soreness. Okay, so this is just showing us some of the assessments that you guys are going to do on Tuesday. This one is obviously for you. Does this look familiar to most of you guys? Probably done that one before, okay? What you guys are going to do is this one right here. And I want you to kind of look at these two different pictures. What are some things that you notice different about the youth versus that adult down there? Other than one leg versus two, and he's using a sit reach box, he's not.
Smiling.
Okay, the kid looks happy about it. He's not smiling. Is he smiling? I can't tell what he's doing. Okay, the kid looks kind of happy. What I'm noticing is the trunk. You see this? You see how his shoulders are back? You see how his back is straight? You see how he has this curve right here? His shoulders are punched forward. Okay, they're protracted instead of retracted. When you guys do this test on Tuesday, you're going to have to keep your shoulders retracted. You're going to have to keep your back out of the equation by keeping your back nice and straight. You remember, I think one of the first days of class, I had you stand up and asked you to reach over and touch your toes. And then I asked, now do it without bending your back. And you guys were like, oh my gosh, that was different. That was harder. That's taking the back out of the equation. This is for scapulothoracic flexibility. We'll do this one as well. Just looking at the difference, are you able to touch your fingers together, or how much distance is separating them? Usually, you are going to be more flexible on one side than the other. Might be a dominance thing, dominant versus non-dominant, but we all have asymmetries, right? If we look at each other, we all look symmetrical. Okay, does my right and left half look the same? Hopefully. Nobody's answering. Okay, hopefully they look fairly symmetrical. And that's how we were built. But physiologically, internally, I might have some asymmetries, right? When I was in college, I was a jumper, so long jumper and triple jumper, and I was right leg dominant. Okay, right leg dominant. My right leg is still to this day stronger than my left leg. That's an asymmetry. Most asymmetries are going to be said to be at a risk between sides if there's a 10% difference between my right side and my left side. That could be cause for concern. So just something to think about. Why we also might see differences, flexibility, if we were just to look unilaterally. This is one, this modified for an older adult. Okay, if any of you guys want to work with older adults, there's some great chapters in this book targeting older individuals, things that you should really take with you. Different assessments to do with older adults, and this is one of them, and how to modify an assessment to make it safe. All right, so here's our exercise prescription, guys. Here's our fit. Okay. Frequency, 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days a week. Minimum of 10 minutes, okay, per session. Point of mild tightness without discomfort. It shouldn't hurt. Okay, on Tuesday when we do our PNF stretching, it's passive, it's assisted stretching. So somebody is going to be helping you increase your flexibility, meaning they are going to try to push your leg. We're going to focus on the hamstrings. We're going to try to push your leg a little bit further to make it go a little bit farther, to make you get a little bit more flexible. And we just need to be careful that we're not making that person hurt, okay? If their legs are shaking like this, okay, you probably need to stop and give them a little bit of a break. Time, this is 10 to 30 seconds, so depending on the stretch, 10 to 30 seconds is about the duration you would be looking at. And they're static and dynamic, as we've discussed. 10 to 30 seconds, repeat 2 to 4 times, accumulate a total of 60 seconds. Dynamic 5 to 12 times. So usually dynamic is going to be estimated based on a distance. Can you get 10, 12 reps in this distance? Great. Great. Big things here, guys. 2 to 3 days a week, 10 to 30 seconds per stretch, and you're going to repeat that 2 to 4 times usually. Okay, how's your posture look? I see some people still aren't going to make it. You're doing great. Here are some stretches to avoid. Again, some things that we've talked about. That standing toe touch, reaching over, bending the back. This is especially dangerous for somebody with like a herniated disc, okay? So this is something to avoid because it might actually strain that lower back. And if it's somebody with a herniated disc, it's going to cause them even further injury. The hurdler stretch, I'm sure some of you guys have seen that or have done it before, but it does put strain on this bent knee right here. Knees, they don't really like to go that way, okay? This is trying to move the knee far medially, and it's uncomfortable. And so it puts strain on some of those ligaments. Over-rounding of the back in general, okay, kind of taps in again. Hyperextension of the back. You want to try to avoid hyperextension of the back in general. It's not going to stretch your abdominal muscles or anything like that. And it, because of that compressive force that you're adding to the spinal column, it can generally cause more pain than it does good. And anything circle with the neck has really, you've really moved away from that, okay? So it used to be, I remember like being in PE class when I was young, and we would get in our circle and we would do our stretches and we would do our neck circle, you know, everything was a circle. Well, we've moved away from doing a full neck circle. Now it's just side to side, right? You can add that arm to get a greater stretch. But we don't want to do anything that causes any hyperextension of the neck. Just like we said, avoid hyperextension of the back. Just in this example of a progressive static stretching program and a dynamic stretching program. These are great too if you're new to exercise and you're thinking about how to create a warm-up or what you should include in the warm-up. These are great because it gives you kind of a full rounded, full body stretch prior to, okay, dynamic or static or post. Sorry, I'm having a hard time breathing today. Sometimes my stomach feels so big that it's just hard to breathe. Okay, that's short, right?
Yeah.
Very short. You guys want to Kahoot and then you'll actually get out of here super early. I know. What are you going to do? I have it pulled up right here. Is this better than last time? Is that what that means?
That's not me.
Oh, okay. There's no competition here. No competition.
Yeah, I wouldn't let me put the E in there. 17. Only missing one person. There we go. Okay, you ready? Flexibility is influenced by all of the below except Who's that picture?
you don't know who that is.
No.
Oh my gosh. Please tell me somebody in here knows who that is. And of course his name just popped out of my head. It's Simmons. Thank you, Richard Simmons. You guys are so young. Okay, Richard Simmons was like the renowned like aerobics instructor, you know, like step. Yeah, and he always wore like a tight spandex suit, like a wrestler, right? Yes, yeah, and sometimes he would use like a wand with like, it was just like, wow, that's so cool. Okay, guys, correct. VO2 max. What is the VO2 max? And use. Okay, very good. Ice at the top. True or false? Flexibility typically decreases with age, resulting in significant changes in the ankle, hip, and pelvic regions. Yep. Okay. So that's false. Do you remember what it was? Yep. Neck, shoulders, trunk. Okay. This area up here is where we're really seeing those changes. That's why you see a lot of older people, and how are they walking? They're walking like this. Okay. Also, why I'm tasking you to keep your posture up so that as you age, you don't start to walk like this. Because again, those muscles are made to keep you upright like this. Kels to the front. 3, true or false, a person may experience relaxation or stress relief from participating in flexibility focused exercises. Good. True. Okay, definitely. Nice work. The average Roby, not so average right now. Flexibility exercises should be performed blank days per week, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. That was fast. Good. 2 to 3. Remember that. 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3 for everything except for aerobic. Nice. Maintaining. In general, a person should spend blank seconds per static stretch. 10 to 30, 5 to 10, 30 to 45, 20 to 40.
Yeah. Like 30 to 30.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Yep. Good job, guys. 10 to 30. Okay. Where's the better Bobby at? Or Robbie. I said Bobby. Where's the better Robbie at? A standing toe touch is a safe stretch. True or false? False. That's this one. Okay. Not a safe stretch. Shall we see? Bob, what's poppin'? And victory is yours. Runners up, Ice and Tonka. Okay, guys, that's all you're taking in for this week. Muscular and flexibility. Go ahead and read them if you haven't. Take your quizzes. And again, make sure that you meet me on Tuesday at the Ox Gym. I'll probably send an email reminder. Drive safe and have a great weekend.
With like next class, I can't like do any push-ups or anything because I had surgery on my shoulder.
Okay.
So I can do like stuff that doesn't like put pressure on my
Yeah.
shoulder or things like
You
that.
can do the other two then.
Okay.
Okay.
Sweet, thank you.
Yep.